I like to share my experience at Canadian Women's Shelter. While I was living with my ex-husband, one day my ex-husband violently attacked me. I almost lost my life on that night. I called a number and they asked me right away to call 911, which is the emergency police. But I was too scared to call emergency because, like, after hitting me, he left for some time. So during that time only, I made the call for that woman, but I couldn't call the police. So she asked me to come to the nearby petrol station. So she will send the police there to take me to a shelter. But I was so afraid to go out. It was in winter, so very dark. So I was afraid to leave. So I stayed back. Then the next morning, when my ex-husband left for work, I called the same lady and she asked me to go to a shelter. It was a Salvation Army shelter in downtown Toronto. Honestly, that experience was so scary for me. It was more scarier than being with my ex husband. It was a shelter where there was a big hall, kind of, and there is bunk beds, and there was transgender female. Actually, they were male inside the place, but then when they go out, they will dress up like a female and go out. And honestly, I was not used to transgender and different sexual groups at that time. So I was super paranoid to be with them, and there was no door for the like the bathroom to take. There is a shower curtain, and even the toilet, I don't know whether it had a lock in it or not. It was the super there is no personal privacy at all. And I went with a two green blue bag of this Walmart bag, and one bag, while I was staying there, sitting, being there. There was a person who took the bag and went. So I was able to run after and get the bag, but so there was no way of any security at all. It was so scary. I never, like, all kind of people, all ages, and I had that feeling like it was a place for more of prostitution, because there were so many this notices over there which said that what to do, how to do, where to go, all kind of thing. So it was kind of scary. And I went in the morning, then I didn't eat anything for lunch, and then night, I just for dinner I went there to get. Oh my God, the food was so bad. It was like a burnt chicken and just little bit of rice, and I felt like it is better for me to die in the hands of my ex-husband than die in this place with. So that night, I after the food, after I didn't know even how to sleep that place at night. There was, so I went back to my ex-husband. Then after a few months, 2 months, within a 2 months time, my ex-husband was arrested by the police because of domestic violence. And while he was arrested, the court order for him to stay away from me. So I had the freedom or rights to stay in my apartment, but I was so scared to live alone in my apartment, because I never lived alone in Canada on my own. So my cousin, who was there in Toronto, she allowed me to stay in her place. and my husband was locked up for 24 hours, and the next day, one night, he was in the prison and then a jail, and he came back the next day. He has come back, which I didn't know anything what has happened to him. And that night he came back, and that night he called my cousin, and I don't know what the conversation they had, both of them. And she asked me to leave middle of the night. So I didn't know why. I said, okay, I'll leave this the next morning. So I have to leave next morning. I left to the Catholic family service, and I asked them to give me a place to stay. And I knew that I will never go back to the place where I went before, while a couple of months ago in downtown. I said, I can't stay. So there was no place available. And I was waiting. I said, I will never leave this place without you giving me a proper place for me to stay. So I stayed, and at the end, almost the office has to be closed. Though, so they said, in case if you don't leave when we close the office, we have to call the police for you. So, but I said, I'm not going to leave anywhere, because I can't go anywhere in this world. So I stayed, and luckily, just 5 minutes before they closed the office, um, a phone rang, and I got the permission to go and be in a shelter in Mississauga. Honestly, it was a heaven. I had my private room, and it is only women, and there were some children, and I stayed there while the court case was going for my ex-husband. And it was really a journey for me to stay there, but because of the court case and my personal um, issues, then I went back to my ex. And then after the right away from the court case, I left my ex. Then I went back to Toronto. So when I left my ex-husband, I couldn't stay in Toronto, so I moved to Montreal. So that was, the end of Toronto. I almost ran to save my life, because I knew if I continued to stay in Toronto, he could have killed me, because it was a death threat on me that if I leave, he will kill me. And honestly, and now when I look back, there are so many women who have lost their lives just because they decided to leave their ex. So I was so glad I made the move to Montreal, and I got my divorce. Then after the divorce, I decided to go back to Toronto, and I was super scared to go back, because even though I'm divorced, but if I go back, he might kill me again. So I really felt it was safe for me to live in women's shelter, because of my previous abuse and the history they had on me. So I was also surprised, because when I returned back after um, 8 years to Toronto, 7 years, sorry, 7 years to Toronto. All the records were still on, and I had again a very beautiful, nice place to stay in a shelter. It is a room, private room, shared toilet, and there were so many dramas and issues I had with other women, and also there are so many nice women also. We had really good time. We had so much gifts during the Christmas, and we were taken care very well, especially the women who were running the place. It was a Catholic run place, and they were really caring. Only the people who were living there, because of the trauma, there are some issues happen, but other than that, the people who were working there, they were super nice. They cared for us, and I was really grateful that I had a good stay. And actually, it is only for 2 years to stay. And during that 2 years, we have to find a place, get back on our feet, and move on. But because of the COVID, I was able to stay more than 2 years because it was really impossible for us to leave anywhere during the COVID. So they were so merciful to keep us inside. And I left from there again, once again. And I left Canada also from the shelter. But there was so much of stigma. Whenever I say I live in shelter, people look at me like down. And the first shelter I was there, while after soon after I found the not very first shelter, the second shelter after my ex-husband was locked up, the shelter I went to. It was really a big challenge I had because as a medical doctor going into a shelter, even I was kind of felt um, dehumiliated because whenever we have to do the chores, we have to clean up, we have to do so many things. And being a doctor and being in that high state, I think the brokenness happened in that place, and I accepted it. And the second place I accepted as who I am. Yes, I'm a medical doctor. At the same time, I was a victim also. I was a healer, but at the same time, I was a battered woman also. So, all the parts I was able to take consideration and live through it. Nothing is shame. Nothing is only the pride in life. Everything, shame and pride together, makes the life beautiful. And I'm so grateful that Canada gave me that opportunity to be a doctor and be a victim, shattered woman, broken woman, shelter woman, homeless woman, all the identities also at the same time given to me. And honestly, after I left my ex-husband, in Montreal, I made a good money. I had my own apartment. But in Toronto, after I left my ex husband, I never had the courage to have my own place to stay. One thing is the death threat, and also there's so much pain because I lived a very luxurious life with my ex husband, and it was so hard to be on my own feet. But I hope one day I will return back and live the life which I lived with my ex husband in a very higher state, even though for the world, but inside there was so much pain and suffering. But outside, it was really a blessing. It was like a very higher, life. And I hope it will happen back. It may happen again in Canada, to live back in that status, inside, outside, and have the best life for me, inside and outside of me, because that is the most difficult. Whenever I had the outside life better, inside was suffering. When inside was better, outside was suffering, because the shelter experience gave me a good life for me inside, but outside I was so disrespected. But hopefully I will come to a place, hold both together, and live a best life. But the shelter life really made me who I am today in front of you. If I haven't gone to the shelter, I could have not known myself. Shelter made me to be strong, be independent woman, be on my own, and heal my wounded self. And I'm so grateful for my shelter experience. Thank you.